Me great pleasure to call this meeting to order, and we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, as always. So please rise while Dr. Ingram leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Ms. Sawyer, may we have the roll call?
Sharon Warden,
Present.
Dr. Sheila Williams. She has joined. Thank you, Dr. Williams. She's joined virtually. George Archuleta.
Here.
Virginia Houston.
Present.
Pam Pereza.
Here.
Rodney Walton.
Here.
Daniel Spence.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Houston. Can you present the ethics awareness statement, please?
Welcome to this meeting of the Elizabeth City Pasquotank County Board of Education. It is my duty to remind members of this board that it is your responsibility to avoid all conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest in accordance with Chapter 138A of North Carolina General Statutes. As public servants, it is our duty to continually monitor, evaluate, and manage our personal, financial, and professional affairs in such a way as to ensure the absence of conflicts or potential conflicts. Does any member know of any conflict of interest or potential conflicts of interest with respect to any matter coming before the board this evening? Let the record reflect that no conflicts exist.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Now I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda for March 29th, 2022 as presented, and I need a second from the floor.
Second it.
And a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams. George Archuleta.
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Pam Pereza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ingram for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to call board members' attention to the book at your place. Ted Dintersmith's What School Could Be. We referenced this book in Raleigh 2 or 3 weeks ago. It just came in. You don't have to read it cover to cover. It doesn't read that way. Ted Dintersmith has recently moved from he's a venture capitalist who recently moved to Mount Pleasant, South Carolina from, he was in Charlottesville, Virginia. He still has a home there as well as Rhode Island. In his ventures, he's traveled to all 50 states, and he highlighted a school in each of the 50 states, and you can read some or all of it. Some schools that they believe themselves to be innovative, but perhaps were not. Ironically, in the Portrait of a Graduate discussion last night from Superintendent Truitt, and there were about 300 people on that call, they showed a brief video, and at the end of that video, the cover of this book was there. In addition, as you'll recall, we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, invited leaders of the community to have a discussion about the work and life skills that they felt would be important. We replicated that exercise with 15 students from Northeastern High School last Thursday. I will be continuing that discussion with 15 students, seniors from Pasquotank High School, and also some seniors from the Early College High School. The reason I choose seniors is they're coming at the end of their time with us, and I want them to reflect. And these are the questions I'm asking them. Number one, what would you like for us to know, us being the adults? What you as teenagers would like for us to know about you that you don't think we know about you? And the answers were riveting. I don't want to share them right now because I got to talk to some more groups and then we'll have a collective answer so that you can think about that. And then they saw the same 20-minute video that we showed at Montero's, and they came up with their list of work and life skills. And then today at our principals meeting, we did the same thing. We showed the video and we had the list of work and life skills. And what we're finding, and I've done this work in 3 other districts, by the way, and it's amazing the agreement that you get. There's an amazing amount of agreement, would you say, Tammy? You've been there the whole time with each one of them. And we still got some groups to go through. 2 more groups of students, the Teacher Advisory Council, and directors. So I think you're going to have a really good rudder, or a North Star, if you will, as we welcome a new superintendent on board, and I'll be glad to work with him or her once you name that person, and that person is shared with us in April, and I'll have a few weeks to work with that person so that it will be a seamless, supportive environment. And I think what you're seeing, if you're paying attention to the state rhetoric with the portrait of a graduate, it is really a direction that we've been recommending to you, if you will. The state is planning to change the accountability system, which is antiquated, and I hope that you agree that that is something that we need to do. And the state commissioned Battelle for Kids to facilitate their discussions of the portrait of graduate, and I'm proud to say and remind everybody that Elizabeth City Pasco Schools, at least to our knowledge, is the only district in the state that has joined that network. We joined it way back in the fall, and I encouraged last night for other superintendents to follow suit. So hopefully they'll do that. So next, on changing gears a little bit, the board is seeking student board members. The application period is currently open. There will be an interest meeting for students on March 31st and April 4th at 6:30. Meetings will be virtual, and the link for this Thursday has been shared with rising seniors. Juniors, I'm sorry.
Current juniors, sorry.
Current juniors, rising seniors. All right.
Sorry.
All right. That's all right. I may have misread. Spring break is fast approaching. Schools and offices will be closed the 15th of April through Friday, the 22nd of April. And our school calendars were approved last month for 22-23, and they've been published by the district and are available on the website. They were also sent to families via Parent Square. So, Madam Chair, board members, members of the audience, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Ingram. Now I need a motion from the floor to approve the minutes that were listed for action.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes for February 28th, 2022, March 3rd, 2022, March 4th, 2022, and March 21st, 2022.
There's a motion, and I need a second.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. George Archuleta.
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Pam Pereza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And now we move to public comments, and Mr. Sawyer, you're up first.
First of all, is this on? Yes. First of all, I want to ask for extra minutes. I put it on the paper, but of course, she's not going to tell you that because I'm running for a seat in November. So when y'all get the opportunity, somebody make a motion to allow me 4 more minutes. Y'all did it for the school bus drivers in October, so I'm asking you to return the favor. Asking that she don't vote because I know what her opinion is already. So at this time, I'd like to give y'all the opportunity to give me 4 more minutes. If not, I'll continue. No hands. Oh, this one hand.
Is that something we can
I'm
do?
asking for 4 extra minutes. I need a vote.
You don't need to have a vote, Mr. Sawyer.
Okay, because I've been asking for 4 times now, and I know I'll get it.
Well, we don't normally give extra minutes, but if you request extra minutes,
I think
Mr. Sawyer, can you
Yes.
speak up a little bit?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to. I was just kind of nervous about asking for those minutes. I know at the beginning of each meeting, you're told you can't respond. That's not true. Generally, board members will respond only to seek clarifications. At the appointed time, the chairperson or designee shall call the hearing to order and preside over it in accordance with any rules regarding precipitation adopted by the board. When the allotted time expires, or when no one wishes to speak, the chairperson or designee can declare the hearing ended. I want to remind everybody about the open meetings law compliance. The board will comply with the open meetings law, including notice of the date, time, and location of all meetings. And what I'm referring to is, I don't know how many of y'all saw this. Luckily, it came in my mail yesterday, just on time for the night. Delaware County School Superintendent stepping down at the end of June, but as he goes down, he's going out with a bang. I don't know how he got my address, probably because as a potential candidate, maybe they get this or whatever, but I want to read this. I'm gonna make sure I get it all in. On February 10th and February 11th, the Board of Education met. You met in small groups or received reports, presentations, and documents that include a finance update, class curriculum and instruction, which includes the spending of federal money, technology information, personnel information, and more. You received and discussed information that could not be used in guidance your future decisions for your district. These meetings were not advertised and no time, date, or location was given. Why would you meet without notice? Now, this is coming from the Terrell County Superintendent. So I don't know how you found out what y'all did and didn't do, but evidently there's a whistleblower somewhere. Thank God there is. Did the board meet in small groups or alone to intentionally avoid discussing hot topics and reports in a public setting or to avoid the open meeting law? Every board member received the same exact documents and presentations. What happened? The transparency. How can the community support you if you keep board business from the eyes and ears of the community? It appears you only share what you feel will benefit you, the board. The public has a right to hear all your discussions regarding how money is being spent and how students are being educated. You were elected to represent the people of this county, not used to see as power or personal gain. Do you care that nobody outside of the central office knows how public money is being spent and are afraid to ask? Many believe that Dr. Ingram was brought in to serve as interim because he had good friends with at least 2 board members. Do certain board members call him and ask for favors or give him directions? Do certain board members call each other to discuss upcoming decisions on what will be said prior to board meetings? Do certain board members have information that others do not? How much is the board paying Ingram? Please remember, Ms. Warden, sooner or later, even you answer to the community. I encourage everyone to start paying attention and asking questions. As Ms. Powell said last month, 4 of you are up for re-election. If rumors are true, and you promised the job of superintendent of this county to a superintendent in a nearby county who recently resigned, before interviews were even held, the community needs to hold you responsible for spending the money and wasting taxpayer money to do a fake search. If you plan to have Ingram move certain people into key central office positions before he leaves, the community needs to take note and hold you responsible. It's concerning that after months of having an intern, you are suddenly moving as fast as you can to hire a superintendent. The community needs to take note and hold you responsible. Now, being that this superintendent came from Tyrell County, like I said, I don't know how he got his information, but he got it. Thank God he did. If this information is true, if it's true, I ask that the board chairperson step down tonight, resign, or y'all vote her off and replace her with another board chair. Secondly, if and only if it's true, I ask that the school spokesperson, the last interim superintendent, the current interim superintendent, and the school attorney all be immediately terminated. And one more thing. I think Ms. Powell said this again last month. Nothing changes unless nothing changes. Nothing changes unless, what is, nothing changes unless Nothing changed, it's nothing changed. I think I said that. I have a copy of the report that I just read to y'all. I want y'all to take this home or maybe discuss it tonight. And, the election ain't till November. But y'all got the power to clean house tonight. See, a lot of just to do what I did tonight. A lot of y'all think I'm full of mess. A lot of y'all want to estimate me. Not only am I winning for this election, I'm going to win. Hopefully. But to take it all. And, say the last time you see me, because I'm not Jimmy Hopper, baby. Hopper, that coffee, Hopper. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I didn't see you, man. Where's your bag? Hey.
Ms. Cobb? Let's move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion from the floor.
I made the motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented from our March 29th for our March 29th meeting.
Okay, there's been a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. If there is no discussion on these items, anybody, we will have a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams?
Yes.
Thank you. George Archuleta?
Yes.
Virginia Houston?
Yes.
Pam Perezza?
Yes.
Rodney Walton?
Yes.
Daniel Spence?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to turn to our financial, business, and technology area, and we're going to begin with Ms. Wilkins, who is asking for our motion from the floor to approve the NC-DOT paving agreement. So I need a motion from the floor for that approval.
We make a motion. Mr. Archuleta asked last week about some finance numbers. So
Okay,
what are we approving here today? Are we approving to go ahead with the project?
we're just approving to proceed with the agreement with NC-DOT. But as you said, we did ask for some financial information. Does Ms. Wilkins have that information? Has she joined us tonight? Yes, she's virtually. Ms. Wilkins, do you
Yes,
have
I'm
that
sorry.
information for us?
I do not have it in my hand, no, ma'am. It was a preliminary report. Um, The reason for tonight would be just to take action for us to have authority to move forward with those agreements.
So this is me, not the board. I don't think we should move forward on any kind of agreement without having some information on what it's going to cost us. At least a preliminary number. That's just me.
I agree, Ms. Payne.
Well, we did ask for that information.
Did ask for it last week. And
Yeah.
I thought we would have it this week.
So, Ms. Wilkins,
Yes, ma'am.
can you get us that information before we move forward with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in order to, we don't want to hold this process up. So can you get that information to us, to each board member via email? And then if necessary, I will call a special meeting for us to discuss that.
Do we need a special meeting for that? I mean, what would be the quick rush? I don't know.
Well, I'm just thinking in order to be completely transparent, that would be the appropriate way to proceed. So she would need to get us that information. We would have time to look over it, and then we can meet and simply vote to proceed, and also have a discussion about that information that she has shared.
My question, after hearing some of the concerns tonight, is, okay, we hurry and have this meeting. I want one where the public can be here and they can hear what we're
Right.
doing.
That's exactly why I said we would meet. That's the appropriate way.
So that would be the special meeting where we get together and the public come in and
Right,
hear.
right. I'm not saying closed. It's no, a special meeting does not mean a closed meeting. A special meeting means it would be a open meeting in which we would have an opportunity to bring the information that she has sent to us. We've had an opportunity to study it. She would bring it forward. We would discuss it. You could ask any questions that you may have of her, and then we'll proceed with the vote. But the public would be,
And we'll do it at a convenient time.
oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I would think so. Yeah. Okay. So Ms. Wilkins, can you get those numbers together for us? Send them out.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
if you want to if you want to send them to me and then I can just forward them, that's up to you. If you want to send them to each one of us, that's fine. If you want to send them
Yes,
just
ma'am.
to me and then have me, I'll just forward them to the members. We can do it either way.
Yes, ma'am, will do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait a minute. Let's give you a time limit on that. How long do you think you'll need to get this information? Will
give me-
a week suffice?
He had already preliminary given me figures. All I need to do is scan them
Okay.
and send them to you. And I can
Okay.
do that this
All right,
afternoon.
great. So you already have the information, all right, but you don't have it with you tonight?
Not at home, no ma'am.
Okay, all right. So if you will get that information to us as soon as possible, and then we'll move forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Haynes?
Chair Warden, Vice Chair Williams, Interim Superintendent Ingram, and board members, good evening. The Finance is requesting approval to engage Anderson, Smith & White for preparation of the financial statements and auditing 22. On February 10th, ECPPS issued a request for proposals for financial statements preparation and auditing services. The RFP was posted on IPS, and an email notification was sent to 19 firms. The list of firms was obtained from the LGC website. Proposals were due in March 10th at 3 o'clock, and we received 4 proposals from qualified firms. An evaluation committee was formed that included representation from child nutrition, federal programs, a previous school bookkeeper, finance, and members of the finance committee. The evaluation committee met on March 21st to review the proposals. The committee selected Anderson, Smith & White as the overall best value, mainly because of their experience with school board audit. Anderson, Smith & White is currently engaged to audit over 60 of the 115 LEAs. Are there any questions on the proposal process? Right.
Are there any questions about this item? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve FBT 09, the auditing the RFP award as presented.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just had a question about
Okay.
the services and, I'm not on the finance committee, so, the contract is similar to what we had with Rhonda and
Yes, ma'am. It's the same type of services that previously were performed by Ms. Gregory's office.
there's no change in obligation to them or any length of contract with them.
Any change in
like the length of contract of how we have?
No, ma'am. And this contract, it is 1 year with the option to renew for 2 additional years. But we are contracting for this current fiscal year. But the RFP does allow us to use the term for 3. Is there any?
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, we've had a motion on the floor and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams?
Yes.
Thank you. George Archuleta?
Yes.
Virginia Houston?
Yes.
Pam Perezza?
Yes.
Rodney Walton?
Yes.
Daniel Spence?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on. Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Going to move on to our Director of Transportation, Ms. Hill. She's going to give us an update. Ms. Hill?
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Dr. Williams, board members, and Superintendent Ingram. I come to you tonight with just a couple updates of where we're looking at with transportation right now. Thankfully, we've been able to hire a couple people, actually 3 since January. I was here last. Unfortunately, with gaining those 3, I have lost 2 people and then another one from full-time to a morning driver only. I've lost 3 people to medical leave for the rest of the school year. And 1 has returned on top of the 3. Another one was out for medical and returned yesterday. And another one is slated to return tomorrow. But it still leaves me down to 3. Thankfully, the drivers that I do currently have stepped up really, really well and have helped cover to where we're still getting students home and school on a timely manner. We've definitely improved in time-wise, getting the students to school. The drivers are doing an excellent job. I do have to praise them for that. In our February class that we had 8 people, we only have 1 that has followed through and has put his application in. We're waiting on a hire date and him to retrieve his CDL. He's done everything else up to that right now. We had 4 people in our March class. Nobody has applied. And right now we have 6 signed up for our April classes. And those classes are online, which is a little bit easier for some. They are 4 days long, as well as the training on the road, once they have completed, is now 4 days versus 3. Do you have any questions for me?
How long is the wait between the test and when they have to drive? Still,
You still have to hold it the 14 days.
is still.
Mhm. And I did find out at one of the last meetings that I went to with all of our district for this area, that we can actually do a training session with drivers that are not currently hired, but are holding that 14-day CDL. So they get some kind of feel behind the wheel before they actually go and drive with Mr. Watts. So we're going to look at implementing a program for next school year to try and get that to where we can kind of help with that, if you will. And we would be covered under tort. So if someone were to have, but of course they cannot have any students on the bus, no students allowed. But it would be covered if there were to be an accident under the tort claims insurance.
And one time we discussed, and I know because of the shortage, but we discussed monitor. Do we have any buses that require monitor now? And is that being filled?
We have the EC buses that require, and those do have monitors on them. We can't run them without. And then we have about 3 other monitors, that just monitor. They were brought on in that temporary role of the school year in regards to that. And they have actually stepped up and helped fill in where the EC monitors have been out because we have been down on that quite a bit too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely.
So I got a question for you. This class that that is being offered, this class has been offered by our district, or is the class just a general class that's offered to people who want to be school bus drivers?
It's a state thing with DMV that they offer for school bus drivers.
So we're not losing anybody who is potentially hours to go somewhere else. That's I guess what my thinking is.
No, because actually we cross. So like a lot of the people that we had they just came out of the Currituck class. So they'll cross districts to go and get the training. And then it's up to them as to what county they decide to drive for.
Okay.
We try to, as best we can, regulate who we're actually sending, because if we have a phone call, somebody wants to get a CDL, it's, can you apply? Can you, go ahead and take these steps? Because if not, most of the time they're just trying to get it to go drive a dump truck.
Gotcha.
It's free to go through the class, so.
Yep.
Yeah. So we definitely try to screen that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I have a few questions. Some time ago, we talked about trying to get TAs, custodial staff, cafeteria staff. How is that going about getting some of them to drive maybe a morning shift or evening shift?
The ones that agree to do it already.
Okay.
I do have some that it doesn't work within their schedules that they can't, or they just don't want to and they'd rather drive athletic events and things like that. But the majority of who we have, as far as especially custodians, I even have maintenance driving, and primarily custodians and cafeteria though.
Okay. And you presented to them again and those are just choose not to? All right. You were saying earlier that things have gotten better with getting the kids home and picked up in time. So what are the latest times now that our children are getting to school? Because I know some of them are still missing some periods. What's the latest time that we have them getting to school, and what's the latest time you see them getting home in the evenings?
Okay, on a good day with not a log of callouts, the last person that would be getting to school is right about 9 o'clock. 9:15 at the absolute worst, that's with a breakdown or anything like that. And that of course is middle and high. That's the older group. In the evening, I have got it to where they're home anywhere from 5:05 to 5:10, at the worst 5:15. But that came from being 5:45 to 5:50 up to being 5:10-ish average.
Okay, and you said you mentioned high school. So what are the elementary schools doing?
Elementary, they get out at 2:30, so the majority of those are dropped off by 2:30, I'm sorry, 3:30 or quarter till, so that they can get to their high school and middle school to do that run.
So they're doing good, getting on time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. And my last question is, we all know we dealt with in the fall. That was a challenge for every one of us. What are we doing now to prevent or try to lessen that challenges in the fall? What are we doing right now today to set us up so that doesn't happen again in the fall? Proactive versus being reactive, because we saw that's what happened. Well, I don't know for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. The biggest thing that we're looking at is now that we've gotten the routes where we are, as I get people, I will create new, but the majority of things are going to stay about what they are now, tweak everything a little bit. And I'm going to have drivers, we have our next meeting on the 13th of April. We're going to go over their routes because I need to know exactly who's riding and who's not. So I can clean up what I have and be able to add more students. Our survey goes out on April the 11th for for parents to request transportation. And then that survey ends the last day of the school year. And then it comes to me and we're going to start building routes in June.
Building routes in June, okay.
And that way we have the majority done, the big bulk of it. And then, of course, addresses change and things like that throughout the summer. We get that. That can just be little things to fix later. It's not the big bulk working on August.
So the big bulky work be done, we'll still wait to June and not work on it now? We'll wait to June for that?
Right, because we can't change anything with the kids coming from 5th grade to 6th grade or 9th grade or 8th grade to 9th grade until the school year's over. And that's when we can do our big, what we call upstew. And that's when we pull all the kids from power school. So we can't change that until they've moved over.
Okay. All right. And I'm just wondering why we can't do it earlier. So right now, are all of our students that ride our transportation, are they all assigned to a bus right now?
That have requested it, yes.
That have requested, they're all assigned to a bus, okay. So we shouldn't, so August will be much different this year than last year.
We're still going to have some that are probably going to have to provide their transportation, and parents are kind of used to that. But if anything, what we are working with now is if anybody, say, loses a job, loses their car gets stolen, whatever, we've had those cases, and I do everything I can to make them on a bus.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. That's only a few.
Yeah.
But last year was not a few. Last year was areas. So, okay, good. Thank you so much.
Currently, how many students do we have riding the buses?
We have about 2,300.
And as the kindergartners register. Are you getting that information?
Not yet.
Okay, but you will get that information. Okay. Do you reach out to go ahead and start that process? Okay.
Yeah, and they're usually pretty good. The schools are about getting me that as they get enrollments. Especially, I work very closely with Ms. Lee for pre-K and stuff like that. So we definitely,
Okay.
From your experience, when does that registration happen for kindergarten? Do you, anybody know that? Should it already be happening now?
It's already, yeah,
So-
they've already put out. Right. They've already put out information about it. So it's through the month of April, right? Yeah.
So registration is due the month of April.
Mhm.
So by the end of April, we should have most of our kindergartners locked in, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hill. Does anybody have any more questions? Just keep doing what you're doing and recruit as many as you can.
absolutely. And a big shout out to my drivers. Thank you for everything you do every day. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and now we're going to get some information from our Child Nutrition Department and the Director, Tammy Reinhardt. Ms. Reinhardt?
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Williams, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Ingram. I'm here to update you a little bit our supper program. We started that on March the 21st, a week ago Monday, and it's going very well at ECMS. We are feeding right now, it's averaged between 70 to, we have 185 scheduled to be eating. So it just depends on the day. And we are feeding those children that are waiting for a late bus or signed up for tutoring or their athletics. So that's why our numbers fluctuate depending on especially the athletics. I have two ladies at ECMS that are feeding the supper program, and they clock in about 2:30 from after their break from lunch, and they are done by 4. They're out of there no later than 4:45. But they have done a phenomenal job. The assistant manager at ECMS is Tracina Parker, and she's heading that up for me and with Miss Joyce Hunter. And to accommodate these extra hours, we have increased the hours of Tracina. And then Miss Parker, or Miss Hughes, or Hunter, I'm sorry, Miss Hunter, we have made. So that's our intent. We are able to grow our supper program is to increase full-time employees. We can. It has been going very well. We've been there several days, I think maybe 4 days now since they began. And we had one little student that said, he thanked us for it, and he said, well, he laughed and he said, I just want to know why supper is so much better than lunch. That's awesome. I think we might be hungry. But then another student came up to us and let us know. He said, I want to thank you for this. He said, because my mom doesn't have to worry about feeding me. He said, I eat breakfast, lunch, and supper at school now, so she just has to worry about my. So it just showed me, it touched my heart. That's why we do what we do. And I really thank the ladies for it. Our next effort for our supper program will begin at Sheep Kearney. We have been approved for that, but we're just kind of taking it a little slow and make sure that we're doing the best job that we can do and to provide the service that we're serving with the children at ECMS. And then we will proceed to Sheep. We're excited about it, and I do anticipate this program to grow. I only see it going forward.
Just out of curiosity, how do you decide who's next?
I look at how many children, honestly, right now are enrolled in our after-school program. And, how many are staying anyways. We have a large after-school snack. This is a different program. This operates under a completely different regulation. But the after-school snack program provides a really easy entrance because they're already receiving some sort of meal, small meal, but then it just kind of progresses from there. Now, we did not take away the after-school snack program at ECPPS, so they still do receive their snack. And mostly those are the children that are staying for late tutoring and then your athletics. So the athletic directors there have been very gracious. They said that they've noticed a big difference because their students have more energy to make it through that training and through their games, whatever. It just, I think, win-win.
Thank you.
This is exciting to hear. It's really exciting to hear. I heard you mention you have two ladies helping you and you have the assistant manager. Is she one of the two ladies or she's in addition to that?
Ms. Tracina Parker is the assistant manager at ECMS.
So she's one of the two
She's
ladies?
one of the two.
Okay.
Yes.
So both of them are getting compensated? Okay.
Yes. Ms. Tracina Parker was 6 hours, but now I have increased her hours to management hours at 7.5.
Good.
Then Joyce Hunter came from part-time position at 5.5 hours to 7.5 hours.
Good. So not losing anything. And you said how many was in, sir? Was it 70 to how many?
To 185.
That's a huge range. It is. How do you prepare for 70 to 185 kids?
The coaches do give us a little heads up on how many, if they're going to be having games away or if they're going to be there at the school. Then we also talk to those teachers that are tutoring. They have their schedules, and Ms. Moore has been wonderful too. She gives us a head as well.
Now, I don't know if it's legally we can do this. So anything extra, are they allowed to take some home? Or are they only allowed to eat there? I don't know.
Only allowed to eat there. So these children all come into the serving. They come into the cafeteria when the bell rings, and in several stages. But they come into the cafeteria, they go through the serving line, they're served there, they eat it there, then they go to
Wherever they are.
Yeah.
Just want to thank you, Ms. Reinhardt, and your staff. I talked to Ms. Moore about the program, and she said it was going very, very well. As a matter of fact, the day I talked to her, she said you were scheduled to have about 140 some kids that particular day. And she said all the kids have been saying how great the food is. And as I told you when we met, I've never had a problem with the cafeteria food. You guys do a phenomenal job. So just share that with your staff.
Thank you.
So.
We are trying new recipes out for next year for students, so that's why they're enjoying the different. Thank you.
Ms.
Thank
Reinhardt,
you.
I got one last question for you. Comparing schools or looking at schools the same way, River Road Middle School, what are we currently doing there that we're not doing at ECMS or vice versa?
We are doing an after-school snack program there.
Okay.
We have not started a separate program there. And honestly, at this time, if I did 3, then it would automatically trigger an off. I did not want that. We need to get our feet on the ground.
Okay.
We will expand as we.
So I guess my next steps is the timetable, because again, as I hear that ECMS is benefiting, it automatically makes me think that River Road may not be benefiting. So then that discrepancy causes for concern if students who are at River Road would want to go to ECMS because I'll be able to get a supper program. So that brings a different type of criteria to the board to have to consider with decisions like that as well.
Understand. We are currently permitted, USDA, the applications that I've submitted, we can only do those 2 until September, end of September. And then October the 1st is the start of their fiscal year. So I'll have to do my paperwork and the groundwork to get any additional sites. But October 1st is the next start. But I would love to have.
Just because we asked another question. How many are you going to be serving at Sheep Harney is the second one?
I'm not sure. Right now, we have the pre-K after-school program, and they have the after-school snack program, and a lot of it is the tutoring days. So I have a meeting we have planned with my manager there and Dr. Waples. We'll get our numbers together
And you plan to roll that out when?
right away. Right away. We have a meeting tomorrow. My manager and I have a meeting tomorrow, I should say.
Are there any other questions or comments for Ms. Reinhardt? Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Okay, and now we're going to move into closed session, and I need a motion to do so. I'm going to ask Ms. Houston to offer that, please.
I move for the board to go into closed session as allowed by NC General Statute 143-318-11A6 for the purpose of considering one or more personnel matters that are confidential under NC General Statute 115C-320 and as allowed by North Carolina Statute 143-318 to consult with the board attorney regarding matters protected by the attorney-client privilege and to preserve that privilege.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we go into closed session. We need a roll call vote.
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Yes.
George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston,
Yes.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.